Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And welcome to the Weird Science Comics channel here on YouTube, where I'm going to be going through Young Justice number 15, an issue that is written by both Brian Michael Bendis and David Walker, with art by John Timms. If you are a fan of the Young Justice team, if you enjoy Connor Kent, if you like Bart Allen Impulse, if you like all these, I can tell why you would want to like this book. And I think a lot of people still do like it. It is one of the books that you're going to get these characters. So you end up, the problem with this book in my mind has been the pacing, which is a problem in all of Brian Michael Bendis' books. Also the over amount of characters that are thrown in here, kind of like Legion of Superheroes, where you end up, he's so concerned with everybody getting their little quips and one little word bubble that you're not getting much of progression because of that. But also, that's the big problem. The information that we've been promised over and over. At one point, Brian Michael Bendis said, after a couple issues, hey, I know there's 38 questions out there and they'll all be revealed. The problem is we didn't know what questions he thought they were, because the main thing is, how are these characters here in our continuity and how do they know each other? And when they don't know each other, why? And we are going to get a big thing with Connor in this issue, but it's nothing that seems bigger than what you could have guessed after issue 1 or 2. Well, we end up where they do want to get the information from Dr. Glory down in the Star Labs. They're going there and fighting now. Star Labs, why this has still been a thing after Leviathan, which is Brian Michael Bendis' own book. We kind of go back and forth with Star Labs. They're gone, they're not, they're gone, they're not. Well, you have this facility at least where Dr. Glory has been doing things, and we did see that they were the ones who sent Connor to Gemworld. That is the big moment. That is also the explanation for everything. You end up having all of the team, and John Timms' art's great. I love seeing these characters, but did we need to call Jackson Hyde Aqualad and this other Young Justice team in? Because they haven't done anything. I mean, really, they have done nothing. You end up having the Wonder Comics characters in here, like a Naomi, Wonder Twins, Miguel from Dial A, all these things. Was that just to serve Brian Michael Bendis' Wonder Comics imprint, or was that because they were integral to the story? Because they're not integral to the story. Yeah, at one point here, the Wonder Twins end up calling the FBI. That's about the biggest thing that any of these have done. Naomi, who I do love, but still, I think that first 6-issue mini of hers did not give us any information like Brian Michael Bendis loves to do. Then she's been in a bunch of books, no information still. And in this, all she's done in Young Justice is say, I just got my powers. Nobody does anything. You even have where you have Kelly Quintana, the Teen Lantern, who's not a teen, ends up in this book. I love her. I love Ginny Hicks, but we don't get anything with them because it's so packed with all these other characters. Please, those are the 2 characters you created for this Young Justice team. We only got 1 issue with Kelly kind of giving a little bit of an origin, but I need more of that. None of these characters have their voices yet because they haven't been able to do more than just quip. Amethyst has been in this book, and yet I bet you half the people don't even realize it because she barely is in it. But yeah, you have them all gathered. They're like, hey, because this is where Connor went to go and find out from Star Labs. He didn't know that they were going to follow him. We saw that. They followed him because they're buddies. This Young Justice. They're a team. They're there for each other. Dr. Glory tries to use this as like, yeah, I think I'm going to skedaddle. Bart ends up stopping her. But then Bart also is the one to reveal the information. He has gone through all of the computer files. He's gone through the hard copies. And he pretty much has found out information of every character that we've been waiting to get information from. The problem is he is only going to really tell the information about Connor, where it's all about the reboots. It's all about Crisis. It's all about the things that we've been getting a lot lately. And basically, the whole gist of this is that Connor being sent by Star Labs to the Gem World. The Gem World was outside of the reboots, outside the Crisis, outside the continuity, so that when everything rebooted, it did not for Connor. Connor survived it. And then when he came back, that's why he is the Connor that we know from before Flashpoint. Now, the problem I have with that right away is the idea that Amethyst changed. Why did Amethyst change? Why is she different than before? Because there was a reboot. And it gets wonky. You started out at the beginning of this series kind of mentioning that it was some reboots and weird things going on in Gem World. But then that was kind of brushed aside by the end of that first arc by saying it was Lord Dark Opal, hey, he was doing his thing. It wasn't really a reboot. So the things seem to have changed along the ways. And I think that the reason why we haven't gotten a lot of information that we've been waiting for is because Brian Michael Bendis had no idea what the information would be. Not only his fault, but because we were going to have a change. We were going to head to a 5G. I think that they may have told him, you got to, don't go too far with explaining things because it'll end up all explaining itself by, the whole deal. And that isn't going to happen now. It's going to happen in a different way. It's going to happen later. So all of a sudden now that, you can kind of line it up, Dan DiDio is out, seemingly 5G's out with him. All of a sudden now they're saying, hey, Brian, you could do whatever you want. And I think it's one of those two. You can do whatever you want now because we're going to change stuff up in a different way later. So just go for it. So we do finally get answers. And while I'm using that as a way to kind of get Brian Michael Bendis off the hook, he still has to make it engaging. He still has to make every issue great. He really does rely on the fact that these are awesome characters. There are people out there that will read anything with a Connor and a Tim Drake and an Impulse as a team because they are great. But at the end of the day, I just sit back and think, are we really getting great stories from this, from Brian Michael Bendis, or are we just relying on loving? I can see Impulse on a page and smile and be satisfied with him just running around and acting crazy. It's just this whole pacing of the series, and it's a Brian Michael Bendis thing. It's taken too long to get to answers. It's way over a year to actually just find out one of your main characters, why they're there. That's too long. We still have a lot to work into this as well. But yeah, you end up having Bart find out a lot of things about a lot of characters. In the meantime, there goes the Dr. Glory. She's going to get arrested. She's off. The FBI, freeze! They come in. The Wonder Twins had called. And so now the Wonder Twins say, hey, I deputized all these Justice League members. Now, can he do that? No, but he's doing it. It's one of those things in the movies where they flash the badges and things. But you end up, Bart has the info for just about everyone else. So he's going to go around. Now, is he going to tell everybody the info? Of course not. This is Brian Michael Bendis. He's going to hint and allude to later that you'll get the info. But you do have moments in this that you can sit there and smile. The Young Justice team being Young Justice, being friends, being lovers even. And even though the setup of this is, okay, we're just going to go take care of the Star Labs monsters they were creating. All right. But it's good enough to see these characters. But then you start getting Bart going around and saying, hey, Jenny Hicks, you know that junk in the trunk? You should go and talk to Dr. Fate about it. Here's his card. But then you just sit there. How does Bart know Dr. Fate? Especially because right now it's Khalid and he isn't really from this thing. He just got here. So why is he so in tune with that? But you have to just kind of brush that aside. He does have some information for Naomi. Hey, Naomi, I got some information about all your world and the portal and your powers, but we'll save that for yourself for season 2 of Naomi, right? Wink, wink. Because that's what I think is going to happen. You have Amethyst just there doing nothing. Yeah, me too. It's just her. That's basically, you get one line from her, an issue, if any. And yeah, everybody's going to go off. And this is the deal where Brian Michael Bendis now seems to realize, boy, I have a lot of characters. I didn't really have anything for Uncle Lad to do. Sideways just shows up in the background. And some of these, like a Sideways, I think is here only so that Brian Michael Bendis can say, hey, look, I read the other books. I remember that Sideways, right? I was a big fan of the New Age of Heroes. I might be the only one, but I do like Sideways. But he did nothing. So he's going to go off because they're going to narrow the team. They're going to have their Young Justice, but they also have the Young Justice League. So if anybody needs to get a call, if they need somebody, if they need the H-dial, they'll call Miguel. If they need a riff, they'll call Sideways, things like that. And this Connor here looks really odd on that bottom. It looks like he's either been up for 4 days or he might actually be, doing some drugs. But, there you go. Kids nowadays, right? Well, what can you say? So, yeah, the art's great, though, even with that joke. But the idea of having all these characters, it was too much. At least it seems to narrow the focus after this. And you do have the goodbyes, these characters hugging each other because boy, they're going to miss each other. Arrowette's going to miss Impulse so much now, even though why does she know and whatever. And all this going on. And there's Aqualad, who did nothing since he arrived, but he's going to, make Ginny Hicks smile. Oh, there you go. So they're going to have that moment. It's nice, though. So you end up at the end with Connor going to Bart looking pretty pissed off. Bart is already crying. He's an emotional fella because you end up having Connor say, there's some holes in that story. And you're like, really? We just got the little bit of information we're waiting, and it's not really the full story. And there's holes. So you're going to have to wait and see what those holes were, maybe finding out next issue what's going on with Bart, how he ended up coming back, all those things. We'll find out. I think that it'll kind of drag on a little, but hey, that's the nature of the game here in this book. But overall, I like the art. We got some information. I tend to not want to applaud a book because of getting something we should have gotten a year ago. But we still get information, and I do like these characters. That's what it all comes down to. There's some books where I'll get mad at and I get frustrated and I say, I wish this book would go away so I don't have to deal with it. I don't want this book to go away. I love these characters. I want more from it. When I think of 15 issues of this book, I really can't really think of many moments that seem to be big. It all just runs together. Gem World, Earth 3, doing some other stuff, Skitaris. I mean, all this time we've been having just Connor doing, where is he going to bounce to, and let's react to it. I do need more from it, but I do like these characters. And I kind of wish when you ended up, David F. Walker came on a little later to co-write. He co-wrote Naomi as well. And obviously he's not there to be the Naomi consultant because Naomi hasn't done anything in this book. But I kind of would love to see if maybe Brian Michael Bendis would take 3 issues off and let David F. Walker do the scripting himself, because I don't know how much of this is David F. Walker. It feels 100% like Bendis, but I'd like to see what David F. Walker could do. And maybe, that would be cool. Maybe he could do a better job. Maybe he's more in tune. Brian Michael Bendis, yeah, he's the young hero guy. He's an old guy. I'm not saying David F. Walker is a spring chicken, but, the whole deal with that. But overall, I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. Again, we get some information. I love the characters. It's just there's always a lot of nothing. There's always a lot of filler. Hopefully, thinning out the herd again will do this book good. But that's how we started. We didn't really get a lot of info from there as well. And just as an aside, with David F. Walker writing, maybe Brian Michael Bendis, maybe he's just overworked. He needs a little break. So hopefully, maybe that'll come and we can see what gives. But that's the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you liked what you saw and heard. And if you did, please subscribe to the channel. Also like the video, and then go into the links below for everything Weird Science, including DC and Marvel podcasts, websites. We have a Patreon where you can support us for these videos and everything else and get a lot of shows in return. But that is that, and I will talk to you later.